That's an Edgeworth objection! One moment, Your Honor. Mr. Edgeworth, prosecution has not yet proven the defendant guilty beyond reasonable doubt. Any ruling at this stage would be certainly premature. Come now, Worthy. I understand this is a difficult time for you, but why don't you just be a good little boy and keep your mouth shut? I don't think I care for your tone, Chief Count. What? Creating another fabrication to cover up your past mistakes? Sorry, but I'm no longer the naive little boy you would have me be. Ejection? Oh gosh, Fantasia, that's perfect. Objection is ejection. Oh, that's good. That's good. Ooh, beautiful. With this sudden confession from the defendant, it's obvious to me some kind of deal was struck behind the scenes. Some kind of deal, huh? Not everyone operates as you do, Worthy. I thought so. Your Honor, the prosecution would like to change its first witness. To whom? As its first witness, the prosecution would like to call Miss Emma Skye. Of course, the court hears her testimony. Mr. Edgeworth, I am exercising my right to self-representation. I don't think we need to continue. I don't care what you think, Miss Skye. The exposure of truth sometimes results in tragedy. However, no matter how tragic the truth may be, it would be an even greater tragedy to avert one's eyes from it. Very well, the court shall grant the prosecution's request. That's okay with you, right, Chief Count? Worthy? You'll live to regret this. Mark my words. Miss Emma Skye, please take the stand. Looks like everyone's decided to take the horse by the reins. Woo! Go get him, Edgy. Now then, witness, please state your name and occupation. My name is Emma Skye. My occupation? I'm Lana's little sister, and I want to be a scientific investigator. 2 years ago, you encountered the serial killer Joe Dark of the Joe Dark Killings. Isn't this correct? Yes? I'm trying my hardest to forget about that, though. I'm sorry, but I'm afraid I'm going to have to ask you to recall those events one more time. Mr. Edgeworth, please remember this trial concerns the murder of Detective Goodman. Is an incident that was resolved 2 years ago really all that relevant? Yes, it most certainly is. Well, okay then. Finally, he's giving in fast to our version, even though it's like Edgeworth helping a little bit. We're fine with this. Now, please testify about what happened to you 2 years ago. The trip to yesteryear has finally begun. It's bound to lead to the truth behind this trial. I hadn't heard that word in long. Yesteryear? What a great term. I was waiting in my sister's office that day. A man came running in and took me hostage. Neil Marshall rescued me. But I'll never forget what I saw in that instant. The man raised up his knife and stabbed Mr. Marshall in the chest. Stabbed in the back. It's a good thing you weren't harmed. I passed out. I don't remember much. That's understandable. However, please tell me, Mr. Edgeworth, what does this testimony have to do with Detective Goodman's murder? That will soon become apparent, Your Honor. Gotta admire him for his courage, considering he has no evidence. He's doing a phoenix. He's just... There's gotta be something here. This. What is this? Look! It's real. Alright, well, the defense may begin its cross-examination. Is this voice for a judge okay? I don't have one for him, and I can't always make him old. Okay. Let's just go through pushes. 2 years ago, the defendant was a detective at the police department, correct? Yes, she was second in command until under the Deputy Chief Police Gant. My sister, she was the best detective ever.
I remember. Deputy Gant and Miss Sky were quite the pair.
Go for a Master Roshi voice? Just kind of old and pervy? I believe they shared the same office. That's right. I'd always sit at my sister's desk and dream about playing that organ. I wanted to play it that day, too.
The police department and the prosecution's office held a ceremony that day.
Lana promised to take me to dinner after she finished her work.
Man came running in.
A man? Yes, Joe Dark. He was a serial killer.
Joe Dark was brought in for questioning on the day of that ceremony. We were desperate to get anything on him that would lead to an arrest.
I thought he turned himself in. Did I misread that?
Oh, when he saw his chance... No, I can't do that. I can't do Master Roshi. Goku! When he saw his chance, he fled the room, right? Upon fleeing the room, Doc proceeded to take the elevator. He must have been in a panic because the elevator was going up. Then he ran into Sky in Gant's office.
There was a lot of noise coming from outside, so I opened up the door to have a look. That's when I saw him.
He was the boss. He was the prosecutor doing... What was the prosecutor doing there? That day, there were two people present during Doc's questioning. Deputy Chief Damon Gant and Prosecutor Neil Marshall. Almost forgot about Gant. Neil Marshall had just received the King of Prosecutors Award. Young and dedicated, he went straight to the questioning room after the ceremony. I assume that would have been why he was the first to run after Doc.
When Dark grabbed me, I thought I was as good as dead.
And that's when Prosecutor Marshall came running in.
I don't really remember what happened then, but I'll never forget what I saw in that instant.
Can you tell us about that?
Mr. Marshall jumped on Dark. Just then, the lights went out.
The lights?
It was just about that time of the year. There was a terrible storm going on, and lightning struck nearby.
So the electricity went out. Wait a minute. It was pitch dark in that room. You shouldn't have been able to see anything, right?
Yeah, we have a picture of me and how we could forget him. Right, but just then lightning flashed again outside. That sudden flash left an unforgettable image of the scene in my mind.
I see.
I told the detective about what I saw then.
The detective?
Yes, Detective Goodman. He was in charge of the case.
Detective Bruce Goodman, the victim. Hear more. So you spoke with Detective Goodman about this 2 years ago?
Yes, that's what's so scary about this trial.
And you told Detective Goodman about what you saw?
Yes, but at the time, the words just wouldn't come out. That's why I drew a picture.
Picture? I think she mentioned that before. Well, Mr. Wright, you heard enough. Ask about the picture. This picture the witness drew, I believe it has a very important meaning. But the list of evidence I was given 2 years ago didn't contain a picture. Witness, would you mind if we added this statement to your testimony?
Yes, Your Honor. I drew a picture of that scene once, but it seems to have been lost.
You drew a picture of the scene you witnessed, right?
Yes, I want to do everything I could to help the investigation. I can still see it now. Whenever I close my eyes.
Strange, I took over the case Prosecutor Marshall died. Yet I never received any picture. Perhaps the witness is mistaken.
But I did draw it, I swear. I'm not just imagining it.
This picture Emma drew reminds me. I guess I should check. Yeah, we have it. I just didn't know if there was something new that coming to press it. Because I was going to present the autopsy report on this last one when she says he was stabbed in the chest, because the autopsy report says he was stabbed in the back. Anyway, let's continue. Seeing that imprinted image in your mind. Can you please describe it? The man raised up his knife and stabbed Mr. Yeah, like, I want to press to this one, but I think we'll go in order, and we'll do this. Mr. Edgeworth, this little girl put all her heart into drawing that picture. And yet, you would insist on denying his existence? Why are we being rude like that? I'm not the bad guy. All I'm saying is that as the prosecutor for that case, I wasn't handed such a picture. That may well be, but that doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Behold. This is the evidence list for the SL9 incident. Please turn it over, Your Honor. Turn it over. Turn it... Whoa! Nani? Yes, what is that? Hey, that's it! That's the picture I drew! Indeed, two men appear to be wrestling here. What's the meaning of this? What are you doing with that list? Me? Only the prosecutor in charge should have access to that list. These lists, they're different from each other. What? It would appear, Mr. Edgeworth, that the evidence list you were handed 2 years ago was incomplete. These two lists fit together to form one. You can see the marks here where they were torn apart. So you see, Edgeworth, it's quite obvious what happened. 2 years ago, only half of the evidence in the case ever reached you. How rude. But Miss Skye, did you draw your picture on the back of... Why did you draw your picture on the back of such an important list? Because that's what Detective Goodman handed me in the questioning room, Your Honor. Wait a minute. If this list was torn in half, then that means... Your Honor? Oh, you're right, Mr. Wright. Your eyes are bulging from your head. If the evidence list was torn in half, then there might be more on drawing on the back of Mr. Edgeworth's list. You think you'd look at the back of a piece of paper. Especially if, like, wow, this list is short. Oh. It's possible. Let's see. Is something wrong? Do you even have to ask? Sorry, Your Honor. There is indeed something drawn on the back of my list. Is that thing? That thing! That thing was dancing in the evidence room. Clearly, this act of vandalism is the work of a certain chief of detectives. He was out of scrap paper. That's great. Very well, witness. Will you please testify about that picture you drew 2 years ago? Huh? Oh, yes, sir, Your Honor. What's wrong with Emma? She seemed to be thinking about something when she was looking at that picture. This is the picture I drew 2 years ago. The flash of lightning was so bright, all I could see were shadows. After that, I must have fainted. This picture shows exactly what I saw in that instant. To think a flash of lightning could burn such an image in your mind. Thanks to that, though, she was able to show us exactly what she saw. Well, I don't see any contradictions here. This clearly shows Joe Dark about to murder Prosecutor Neil Marshall. Defense may now begin its cross-examination. Did you draw this picture right after the incident?
I think I drew it 2 or 3 days later. At first I was in such a state of shock that I couldn't do anything.
During that time, the investigation team was reorganized. Detective Goodman was placed in charge, under the direction of Damon Gaunt and Lana Skye.
2 or 3 days later.
Memory should still have been fresh in her mind. Okay?
Excuse me, witness.
Can you please tell us why this picture is painted all black?
Flash lighting was so bright, all I could see were shadows.
So at the time, you didn't even know it was Mr. Marshall who had come to your rescue?
No, I couldn't see him clearly. The lightning was so bright, and I was knocked to the floor.
You were knocked to the floor?
Dark had a tight grip on me, but when Mr. Marshall jumped on him, I was knocked away. I turned around, and then that's when the lightning flashed.
I'm glad she wasn't hurt. What happened after the lightning flashed?
After that, I must have fainted.
You mean you didn't see the actual murder take place?
No, I'm sorry.
The flash of lightning only drove off the darkness for a split second. Not only that, but the trauma of the situation understandably caused the witness to faint. You really need to torture this girl any further. I'm not the bad guy.
Anyway, this picture shows exactly what I saw.
Sorry for asking so many times, but are you sure you drew exactly what you saw?
Of course, this is the exact scene.
It wasn't influenced in any way from your talks with the detectives? Are you insinuating we somehow manipulated her memory, Mr. Wright? No, of course not. I'd better watch out, or you might find some way to cut my salary.
I drew this picture before I had heard anything from the detectives, so I don't think anyone's story would have influenced me.
Mr. Wright, is there something that's bothering you about this picture?
Well, it's strange. She claims this is the exact scene that was imprinted in her mind, and yet there's clearly a contradiction in here. I want to bring up the autopsy report on this one. Because it says stabbed in the back. Good. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but the picture the witness drew contains a blatant contradiction.
But I still remember it just like it was yesterday.
Mr. Wright, perhaps it would be faster if you simply pointed out this contradiction for us. What part of this picture contradicts the autopsy report?
Him looking forward? I think. It's not the... Dang nabbit. Better. I think it's him. I think it's this part. We're being rude. I'll point at the weapon. It's the only thing that's not clear. Take a look at the knife the man is holding. If you look closely, you can see its tip is broken.
I don't have to look closely to see that, Mr. Wright.
But Mr. Wright, look at the evidence. See the murder weapon? Its tip is broken too.
If I recall, the tip of the knife was found broken off in the victim's body.
It was the conclusive piece of evidence that proved Dark was the murderer.
I'm afraid it's not that simple, Emma.
Objection!
Yeah, it can't have been broken off before it went inside. And where, pray tell, could you possibly see a problem? It's obvious, really. The victim suffered a single stabbed wound to the back. If the victim was only stabbed once, then the murder weapon should not yet be broken.
Objection!
Perhaps the knife was broken beforehand. Sorry, but I'm afraid that's not possible. The tip of the knife was found inside the victim's body. If it was broken beforehand, it couldn't possibly wind up there.
That's right.
This is me. The tip of the knife was undeniably discovered within the victim's body. The only possible explanation is the witness's memory is mistaken. That's why I asked her so many times if you were sure that she remembered it correctly. I believe you were annoyed at the time, but she was sure she remembered it correctly. But there's no other way to explain this inconsistency. Not so fast, Mr. Edgeworth. There is another explanation, because I'm Phoenix Wright. You've forgotten already about a little something called falsified evidence? You're treading on thin ice, right? All I'm saying is that this broken knife tip might be the piece of evidence that was forged. Can't deny the possibility. No. That's true, that was like the definitive thing that made it possible.
Are you saying the investigation really was corrupted?
Your Honor, please allow me to once again go over the events that took place the day of the murder. That day, or this day, our day. The police department and the prosecutor's office were holding a ceremony. Oh, he could have been holding that knife. The one in the shield. Because if she remembers a knife that was, like, tip was broken. After receiving the King of Prosecutors Award at the ceremony, Neil Marshall questioned Joe Dark along with Damon Gant. During his questioning, Joe Dark fled. Actually, in that picture, it looked like it was full. Prosecutor Marshall chased after him and was killed by Dark. It is my belief that somewhere in this story, there is a lie. I'm not lying. The man really was holding a broken knife. If that's true, then there's no other way around it. This could not have been the actual murder weapon. There must have been another broken knife.
What are the chances there are two broken knives?
Another broken knife besides Joe Dark's? Has there been one? There is another one. If the witness in this is adamant about the accuracy of what she saw, it can't just be explained away by a simple observational error. Mr. Wright? In that instant, Emma really did see a broken knife.
I assume then that you have some information about this other broken knife. If so, please feel free to enlighten us.
The murder weapon was already broken prior to the murder. There's only one way. Take a look at this. Here's the real murder weapon. Now, I could show this, but I think I should show this because it actually has it in there. Right? The answer lies in the past. 2 years in the past. Right here, inside this picture. This is a picture of the award, sir. Ah! What is it, Mr. Edgeworth? It's the broken murder weapon. Notice the award Prosecutor Marshall is holding. That's a broken knife. As we earlier concluded, the knife in the drawing was not Joe Dark's knife. That being the case, the knife the witness saw was in all likelihood from this award.
Order!
Neil Marshall was awarded King of Prosecutors that day. As an award, he was given this broken shield and knife. When he chased after Joe Dark, he pulled out his knife. Being a prosecutor, he did not carry a pistol. His broken knife was the only weapon he had in the dangerous situation. But that can't be. Oh, why not? Because if the King of Prosecutors Award knife was the murder weapon, then the murderer and the victim would be reversed. What do you mean? I mean, this man raising a knife would have been Prosecutor Marshall. Well, balls. the prosecutor's the one that died. That's true. What's going on here? It seems Mr. Wright has been a bit too eager to jump to conclusions.
Hold it! Wait, I remember now. I remember everything.
Witness?
Mr. Edgeworth,
What is it?
could you show me your evidence list again, please?
His list? The one with the picture scrolling back. Oh yeah, this thing.
I knew it. This picture? I'm the one who drew it.
Of the blue badger? You drew that?
That's right. The list wasn't torn in half at the time I drew this picture. All this time I've been trying so hard to forget. Must have locked this away part deep inside me.
Perhaps it would be best if we added this to the witness's testimony. Would you please tell us what you've recalled, Miss Skye?
Yes, Your Honor.
First the knife mix-up, and now the blue badger. This should be interesting. Okay.
When I saw that man raise his knife, I panicked and rushed toward both of them. I think I knocked away the man with the knife. Just then there was another flash of lightning, and that's when I saw the blue badger. He wasn't in the room, but I'm sure I saw his shadow.
Was the blue badger even, like, invented yet? This is certainly most unusual. Try impossible. The chief of detectives hadn't even designed him until this year. Okay, yeah, he wasn't even here yet. Brick is like, I knew it! The blue badger had the knife. That would mean he didn't even exist 2 years ago.
Well, the defense may now begin its cross...
Stop. Please, don't pursue this any further.
Lana.
What's the meaning of this? Please remain seated in the defendant's chair.
But you can't do this. I've already confessed to the crime. Why can't you just leave it at that?
Chief Prosecutor Skye, we've already come this far. It's too late to turn back.
Silence! The defense will now begin its cross-examination. Bailiff, please detain the defendant.
See if we're finally getting to the core of the matter. All right. I love it when people who get walked all over finally stand up. The judge is like, nope, I'm the judge. Shut up. Get out of here. When you say that man, I assume you refer to Joe Dark?
Yes, at least I think it was him.
You think.
All I could really see were shadows.
Now, the power outage that immediately preceded the incident is also documented in the prosecutor's office reports.
So then you...
Panicked.
Why would you do something so dangerous?
What else could I have done? I was about to stab Mr. Marshall.
She seems convinced that Dark was the one holding the knife. But as we've just theorized, Mr. Marshall was the one holding the knife.
Well, I didn't know that at the time. When that dark guy knocked me down, all I could think was, I've got to help that other person.
What do you mean, you think?
It all happened so fast, and I was in shock. I don't remember everything clearly. What I did, it's all kind of a blur.
Miss Skye was almost killed before she was witness to a murder about to take place. With so much happening in a matter of seconds, a little disorientation is only natural.
I saw the man about to stab the other person who I thought was Mr. Marshall. I knew I had to stop the man with the knife.
What you did was very brave, young girl. And what happened next?
Are you sure about this?
Of course. See? I even drew a picture of him here.
But it was the chief of detectives who thought up this hideous beast. And that was just this year. Blue Badger didn't exist 2 years ago. This is all quite verifiable. I know it sounds strange. I was surprised too when I saw him at the police department. I had this nagging feeling that I'd seen him before somewhere. Now I finally remember. Just when you had thought that thing had caused enough commotion. Frickin' Blue Badger, man. Frickin' Blue Badger. Where in the room did you see him dancing? He wasn't in the room, but I'm sure I saw his shadow. His shadow? So you mean you didn't actually see his face with its winning smile and all? That's right, but I still remember it. It had 3 creepy horns. This is pointless. The thing couldn't have been possibly existed 2 years ago. The witness must be mistaken. It may well be. But what's important is what caused her to think she saw what she did. Oh, and I suppose you have an explanation. If so, then by all means, please tell us what this shadow really was. What was it Emma saw that lightning flashed? Who was this Blue Badger really? This can't look like a Blue Badger, right? Oh, there's actual fist on the other side. That's cool. King of Prosecutors. The names of past recipients are etched on it. That's pretty cool. You think the Blue Badger is really Joe Dart? Oh, dude, Von Karma's name is on there? That's ironic. Okay, so I don't think it's that. It's not the Blue Badger himself. He wasn't created yet. Was allegedly dancing in the evidence room. I think this is all old stuff. Why do we even still have some of this older thing? The older things. Can't do luminol. Has nothing to do with it. Fingerprints? No. A screwdriver. I think this is just a red herring. This one's probably red herring. You think Edgeworth is wrong because he has 3 horns? Yeah, he might. Evidence room. No, we're not in the evidence room. We're up here. I mean, this is the only other thing. How's that? That could be 3 horns. 1, 2, 3. Right? Turn your head like you do it sideways. Who was the roomy detective that barged into your conversation with Edgeworth at the beginning of the trial? You know. I think it is. We're gonna go with that. Because that was in the room. I just might know. Blue Badger hadn't even been dreamt up by Emma Drew with this picture. Yet she's certain she saw its shadow. Ladies and gentlemen, it is the defense's belief that on the fateful day 2 years ago, there indeed was something that looked similar to the Blue Badger. Something that is now sitting in this very room. Mr. Wright! Woo!
In this room? Why, well, what is it that the witness saw in this instant? Please show us.
Okay, not that.
Take that!
Mysterious Blue Badger was, in fact, this.
But that's... What exactly is that?
I believe it's some sort of jar? Mr. Wright, that doesn't look anything like the Blue Badger. Indeed it doesn't. As it stands now, it's just a plain jar. However, what if we were to change your viewpoint? Our viewpoint. It was my lawyer's badge all along. To show him that correct angle to look like this.